Officials are assessing the damage from Hurricane Milton a day after the powerful storm swept across the state. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said the worst-case scenario did not happen, but Milton still wreaked havoc.
The storm did bring much destruction and damage. Tornadoes ravaged parts of the east coast of the state. Flooding occurred on the west and east coast, and strong winds lashed the state, especially in Pinellas, Hillsborough, Manatee, and Sarasota counties.
The governor urged residents to continue to be cautious about hazards such as downed power lines and trees. At least 5 people are known dead as a result of the storm. Social Security recipients will get an increase in the year 2025, but is it enough?
Millions of Americans on Social Security will get a 2.5% increase beginning in January. That's an average of about $50 more in their monthly checks. But retirees like 82-year-old Sherry Myers in Pensacola City, Florida, say it is not enough. She says, I would like to eat good, but I can't. When I'm at the grocery store, I just walk past the vegetables because they're too expensive. She's now hoping to get an hourly job at Walmart to help make ends meet. Social Security Commissioner Martin O'Malley says those who feel that the increase is not enough are not wrong. I'm Rita Foley.
Ethel Kennedy, who lost her husband Robert F. Kennedy to assassination, has died. She was 96. She was by her husband's side when the senator was shot and killed while running for president in 1968. She endured that tragedy and many others while raising their 11 children. The family matriarch, she advocated for many causes after founding the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 57 points, the Nasdaq dropped 9. More at townhall.com.
You just grin and bear it or bite the bullet when it comes to everyday pain? Don't. Try Relief Factor, a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free, it's developed by doctors. In 3 weeks or less, you'll know whether it works for you like it works for me. Try Relief Factor for yourself. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds, which could be life-changing. I mean, you could put that money towards concert tickets for your daughter to see that singer who sings about painful breakups. And one song will inspire your little beauty to break up with that beast she's dating, Brian. Instead, she'll date someone who's nice and worthy of her love, not someone who addresses you and your spouse as bro. And it's all because you could save money switching at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks edge back to their record highs. Back from them, the S&P 500 slipped 0.2%. The Dow fell 0.1% after likewise setting an all-time high the day before. The Nasdaq Composite fell 0.1%. Delta Airlines fell after reporting weaker results for the summer than expected. Treasury yields swung in the bond market after a pair of disappointing reports that showed inflation failed to improve as much as expected last month, and that more workers filed for unemployment benefits last week. The Dow was down 57 points to close at 42,454. The Nasdaq lost 9 to 18,282. The S&P 500 dropped 12 to 5780. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and chilly this evening with a low temperature dipping to 48. Tomorrow, another beautiful day. Sunshine, a high of 73, and we'll stay dry. We'll have nothing but sunshine through the weekend and even into next week. High temperatures in the upper 70s and low 80s for Saturday and Sunday. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Good to be with you tonight from Charlotte, North Carolina. We're here for the ACC basketball tip-off. My God, it seemed like just yesterday we were here for the football kickoff at the Hilton in Uptown Charlotte. This is a great place to have these events. Very good for our standpoint. Easy to get to, and they do a wonderful job with the setup. In fact, they're doing the tear down all around me. You'll probably hear some pulling of heavy tape and things that are holding signs in place as they rip these things off the floor and off the elevators and off the walls, and hopefully they're not going to be tearing down the tables here anytime soon. We got 2 hours to go before they can get to our table. So today, of course, Clemson was one of the teams that came through. Coach Brad Brownell, along with Chase Hunter and Ian Shefflin, representing the Tigers, coming off a run to the Elite Eight. And, of course, that means Tiger fans, basketball people will be expecting the Tigers to do more of the same, but it's a new team. As Brad Brownell will quickly tell you, he's basically got 9 newcomers on this team. So it's a start-over mode for Clemson basketball. Got some good players, but got a lot of new parts that he doesn't really know yet in game situations how everybody's going to react. And that's the thing with transfers and departures and graduations. You know, you start this thing over again. And that's practically the case with everybody in college basketball. No one is immune to getting rid of the one roster and starting over with another one, so to speak. So we will hear from Brad Brownell tonight as he spoke to the media today, and also did a one-on-one with the Chase Hunter. May get that tonight. If not, we'll hold it till next week. Got a lot to do. Going to hear from the upcoming opposing coaches, Dave Clawson, Wake Forest, Kalen DeBoer from Alabama. Also want to try and work in some comments from Clemson baseball coach Eric Bakich. They're now underway. And, of course, our Thursday night regulars, Mike Morgan on the move at 7:05 is scheduled, as well as the M&M boys at 7:35, Will Merritt and Corey Miller will update recruiting for you as well, keep you up to date on things going on, including more baseball playoff action tonight as the Detroit Tigers and the New York Yankees try to close out American League Divisional Series tonight. The Tigers in Cleveland getting underway here in a little bit, and the Yankees and Yankees will be and the Royals getting underway a little bit later on this evening. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. And feel free to give us many people, anybody giving the Gamecocks a legitimate shot at winning this game on Saturday in Tuscaloosa. It certainly would be the longest of long shots for the Gamecocks. They've been bigger underdogs before than 21 points, but it is Alabama, and it is Alabama coming off a lost weekend for them, an embarrassing weekend for them. I mean, listening to the Alabama folks, listening to them talk, I mean, it is like they're having a hard time coming to grips with the fact that they lost to Vanderbilt. You know, lose to Georgia, which they didn't do, but they almost do, but lose to Georgia, even lose to Auburn or Ole Miss or somebody legit like that, okay, you can kind of shake that off and move on, but lose to Vanderbilt, even an improved Vanderbilt team, even the good Vanderbilt teams in recent years, those rare occasions, like when Bobby Johnson was coaching at Vanderbilt, and they were pretty decent then. They didn't lose to those guys, you know. They hadn't lost to Vanderbilt in 40 years. And they go and lose, and now they really, in listening to them, it's like, really can't believe we did this. Really can't believe that we lost to Vanderbilt, but we did. and they have to come to grips with it. And I guarantee you, Kalen DeBoer and his coaching staff have, not been taskmasters on the players this week. I'm sure they've pushed them hard, but just trying to fix the things that hurt them against Vanderbilt, and you're going to see if they've improved in those areas against South Carolina. First and foremost has to be their defense. If there's anything you can hang your hat on if you're a Gamecock fan and you're hopeful, is how Alabama's defense has played the last 6 quarters. I mean, Georgia went up and down the field on them in the second half to take the lead in that game after falling behind big early. And then, of course, you saw what Vanderbilt did, putting 40 points on the board. Now, you can imagine, say, Vanderbilt beating Alabama in a game that was maybe, it was a sloppy game, a lot of turnovers, and they get a break here, a break there. Maybe they get a pick six, recover a fumble for a touchdown, and they might win the game, 17-16 or 17-10. They put 40 points on the board, 40. And they took this game from Alabama. Alabama didn't give it to them. They took this game. Alabama had a chance with their defense to stop Vanderbilt last possession, get the ball back with time and with their explosive offense, and maybe pull it out. They couldn't do it. They couldn't stop them. Quarterback was too good. Boy, he had a great day. Now, if you're South Carolina and you look at that video and you see a mobile quarterback complete, I think it was 22 of 26, some incredible percentage for 250-some-odd yards, 2 touchdowns, and also found running lanes because he's a running quarterback like a Lenore Sellers. It kind of maybe gives you some hope. It gives you a little bit of hope that offensively South Carolina can do some things. They got to cut out the ill-timed penalties. They're being penalized way too much. They are creating too many problems for themselves with pre-snap penalties, things that Shane Beamer talked about this week. They got to cut that out. The sacks, they're getting sacked too much. They were sacked 6 times last week. South Carolina is among the worst in the country in those 2 categories, sacks and penalties. That's a deadly combination for you. For their sake, you have to hope that they have worked on that this week and they've gotten better in those departments. If not, if they continue to make those kind of errors, it will be a long afternoon at Bryant-Denny, Saban Field. And as I mentioned last night, Alabama has not lost consecutive regular season games since 2007. Odds are stacked against the Gamecocks here. But with a mobile quarterback who can run and can complete some passes, with Rocket Sanders in the backfield, giving you a home run threat at running back. Now, the offensive line's got to play great. Receivers have got to get separation and get open. Looks like as of last night, and we'll get the participation update a little bit after 8 o'clock tonight, but Jared Brown was listed as out as of last night, so that doesn't help. Defensively, you better tackle well because yards after contact is something big for Alabama. Explosives are huge for Alabama. They live off the big play. So you better be prepared for the deep ball. And then again, you have to deal with a very mobile quarterback, a runner and a thrower. I found these notes that I thought were really interesting about Alabama. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, by the way. Out of their pregame notes, I found these notes to be, well, you're talking about a championship program here, of course. As I pointed out last night, all those national championships. Here are what I found to be some really interesting notes on Alabama as we look ahead to this game. Since the 2008 season, Alabama has played in 189 of 195 regular season games that have had national championship implications. Think about that. 185 of 195. They're always in the hunt. Now, I don't know how you define national championship implications. I mean, are you talking about games that put you in position to win the SEC and then the SEC championship game and then playoff games, et cetera, et cetera? Late season games that involve rankings and all that. How they define that I don't know, but I just found that to be very interesting. And then Alabama has the best all-time home winning percentage in the FBS. Imagine this. They've been playing at Bryant-Denny Stadium since 1929. Since 1929. That's almost 100 years. They've lost 55 times at home. 55 times since 1929 they've lost at home. 300 wins, 55 losses, and 3 ties. That's domination. Dating back to the start of the 2008 season, Alabama has won 203 games, most in FBS, 20 more than Ohio State, which is number 2. And then you have to be worried, as I said, about their big play offense. Since the start of this season, of Alabama's 31 touchdowns, 16 have been scores of 20-plus yards. That's 51.6%. And 16 are split between 9 passes and 6 runs. So they do it to you both ways, through the air, on the ground. When they gain 400 yards of offense or more, they've done that in 69 of their last 88 games. 400 yards or more in 69 of their last 88 games. They've produced at least 400 yards 3 of 5 games this season. 500 yards. They had 557 against Georgia. They've eclipsed 500 yards in 59 games since the start of 2015. So my point is, and I think you know this, they're really, really, really good. Now, there has been some talk about their offensive line being a bit of a concern. So maybe with South Carolina's defensive front, which is good, they can take advantage of that and cause some problems with Alabama's offensive line. Of course, Alabama having offensive line problems, compared to others is two different levels because they're so good on the offensive line. I mean, they produce so many NFL players as offensive linemen. And we'll see if South Carolina's defensive ends can take advantage of whatever issues that Alabama might have there. So the Gamecocks have their work cut out for them. And, you go into every game thinking you can win. And they should go into this game thinking that if they play the near-perfect game, if everything comes together for them, that they can go in and pull off the stunning upset. But beating Alabama or having Alabama lose 2 times in a row in the regular season, that kind of works against you there. You certainly would have loved to have Vanderbilt, be beaten badly by Alabama last week so that Alabama just sort of feels like, hey, we're good, we're cool, we're hip. Nothing to see here, and then bang, you go in there and you surprise them. Now you can't do that. You can't go in there and surprise them because they're going to be on their P's and Q's. They're going to be absolutely dialed in, ready to play. If South Carolina's not absolutely dialed in, ready to play, it'll be a 30-point loss. If the Gamecocks are dialed in, ready to play, maybe they keep it to 10 or 12 points or make it, respectable. Expecting a victory is probably too much to ask at this time, based on what we saw last week of South Carolina. But maybe the Gamecocks, bounce back and they play like they did, take the effort of Kentucky, take the effort of LSU, combine those. They got to coach better, no question about it. That coaching staff was out to lunch last week. So they've got to be dialed in just like their players. And I think everybody knows that. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. So we'll hear from the coach at Alabama here coming up in a little bit. We'll hear from the Wake Forest coach as well. Wake Forest coming off a nice come-from-behind win over NC State. So they've got a little enthusiasm going, a little hope going for this Clemson game. But they're big underdogs. And, Clemson has dominated the series. I think the Tigers have won 15 in a row over Wake Forest. And, they've just worn out Wake Forest like an old shoe over the years. And Dave Clawson knows that. But he does have a quarterback, a transfer from Boise State, who can throw it. He's averaging about 260 passing yards per game. They always have good receivers. They've got a running back that Clemson recruited some. They usually have pretty good offensive linemen. So it will be like a home away for home for Clemson. There'll be a lot of Clemson fans in Winston-Salem at that game. Man, the number of Alabama fans in Nashville last week. That was ridiculous. It wasn't like it was a little portion, little corner of the stadium. Now they're redoing their stadium, so their capacity's down to about 28,000. It's normally, I think at that stadium before they started working on it, you could maybe get 34, 35 in there. I think it's down to 28. That was what they reported. And I'm telling you, like one whole side of the stadium, if you look at the tape of the game, one whole side of the stadium was Alabama red. And, I mean, the noise in the stadium was dominated by Alabama, even when Vanderbilt was doing well. I mean, the Alabama people had to push their way through. The Vanderbilt people had to push their way through the Alabama people to get to the field. I mean, and the Alabama people had the great seats, and the Vanderbilt fans had to push their way through to get down the field to rush it. So, I think Clemson fans will turn out in big number because I think they sense that this season is turning in such a positive way for their team that they've got a chance to do something special, and they'll be out in big numbers in Winston-Salem. Plus, a lot of Clemson people live up that way. Okay, our phone number, 888-898-2525. Let's go ahead and get the 90 seconds in with Gamecock Larry, and let's find out from him just how the Gamecocks are going to knock off the Crimson Tide Saturday in Titletown. Hello, Gamecock Larry. How are you?
Well, we're going to kick off to the Tide, and we're going to stop them 3. Then we're going to get the ball, and then we're going to take our time, and we're going to have a 9-minute possession, and then we're going to kick a field goal, and then we're going to kick back off to Alabama, and we're going to have another maybe 11-minute drive. And then we're going to score a touchdown. And that's what's going to happen. We're going to win this game, and the score is going to be 24-17. Gamecocks 24-17. Time of possession, 50 minutes and 2 seconds. 9 minutes and 58 seconds.
Well,
Alabama.
So, Vanderbilt held the ball for 42 minutes last week. They had 26 first downs, a great third down conversion percentage. And so if you're South Carolina or you're anybody else and you see that and you go, well, why can't we do that? South Carolina's got better players than Vanderbilt.
Well,
right?
I can tell you how we can do it. I'll tell you how we can do it. We don't need to start Sellers, period.
Who would you start?
Ashford. We don't need to start Sellers, period. Now, I know they're going to get mad, beat them out to get up. I don't know. I talked to Coach Tyler, and they all might get upset. Sellers is either hurt or he's not ready. Either one of the two. They don't need to start him.
You have great wisdom. You really do. I think that he's probably still not 100% with the ankle, and he is inexperienced. He's still learning on the job, and I do think people have expected way too much of him. It's the Cade Klubnik syndrome from last year, where too much was expected of him. Now, a year later, he's a totally different quarterback. I think this time next year, Lenore Sellers, if his spirit's not broken, his confidence is not broken, he'll be an entirely different quarterback, an improved quarterback as well. It's too much to ask. I mean, not everybody's an Arch Manning. Of course, Arch Manning sat out a year before he started playing some, but he's not going to start Saturday. Quinn Ewers is going back in as a starting quarterback at Texas. But not everybody can just step right in like a Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. Well, Spencer Rattler started right away at Oklahoma before he lost his job. So you're probably right, Gamecock Larry. I think you are right on target there with what you're saying.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Have a good day. Love all y'all. I'm going to lean back here and go to sleep. No, I'm going to listen. I'm going to have to sleep because they got me back in the dadgum living room.
Yeah.
I wish they put this old man somewhere. I don't know. I might have to. No, I ain't going to do that.
No, don't.
I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to stay right here. If they don't like it, they can lump it. I'm going to stay right here.
All right.
Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all.
And I'm glad we were able to help assist you in falling asleep. That's what we're good at here on Sports Talk. We can help you get to a quick doze, no question about it. All right, 888-898-2525 is our phone number. Got open lines now as well if you want to jump on board. Some notes from the what do you call it? What do you call it when two world leaders get together to talk about problems? Not détente. Man, maybe détente is a good word. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, Greg Sankey and his counterpart from the Big Ten, they had their meeting in Nashville today, like two world leaders getting together. And a few notes from Ross Dellinger. The two of them sat down like two world leaders and met with the media afterwards. I mean, I thought they were talking about reducing their nuclear arsenals and trying to solve world hunger and how to prevent hurricanes and things like that. Let's see here. A few notes. Greg Sankey asked about the future of NCAA governance. Quote, it has to change. Okay. Greg Sankey asked about the perception that the SEC and the Big Ten may separate themselves from everyone else. Quote, I don't think this perception is consistent with our conversation. More sharp comments from Greg Sankey on outside proposals for a future college sports model. Quote, I don't think it's coincidence that they ramped up their public relations scheme around our meeting, end quote. Yeah, been a lot of those proposals flying around. In other words, I think Sankey's saying, keep your nose out of our business. Like, we're handling this. We don't need your help, okay? We've got all the ideas. Asked whether the Big Ten and SEC controlled the future CFP format, Sankey says, quote, not unilaterally, end quote, but they have a, quote, defined role where we have to be clear participants at the end of that conversation. Okay? On the joint scheduling partnership, Sankey says, quote, we had real general conversation about what ifs in football and basketball and talked briefly about other sports. Yeah, I'm sure. Sankey says the joint ADs did not make a decision on the CFP future format. Quote, our focus on future format comes after we go through the first cycle. Not a lot of conversation about what ifs. All right, so those are some of the quotes put out by Ross Dellinger, who was on hand for that meeting involving the two world leaders of college football. Let's see, what else I wanted to mention here? There's something else I wanted to mention along those lines. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, talking about, don't be surprised here. A company founded and fronted by former NBA player Kendrick Perkins, a one-time Celtic, is offering college and high school athletes upfront money in exchange for a portion of their NIL earnings. Experts say the deals resemble high-interest loans and could be taking advantage of players. Yep, they're going to come out of the woodwork. And after 13 years, last 6 as AD with the Citadel, Mike Capaccio announces his retirement as the AD at the Citadel. He spent more than 40 years in college athletics as a player, coach, fundraiser, and AD. And I've met him a couple of times, and he is genuinely a very nice man. Very nice man. However, I have to say, to be honest with you, under his watch, the primary 3 sports really have struggled at the Citadel in the last, decade or so, close to a decade. Football, basketball, baseball. Their volleyball team has been very good in recent years, but those other sports have really been on the downside. So see what they do there at El Cid, and we'll be back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and chilly this evening. Low temperature 48. Tomorrow, another beautiful day. Sunshine, a high of 73, and we'll stay dry. We'll have nothing but sunshine through the weekend and even into next week. High temperatures in the upper 70s and low 80s for Saturday and Sunday. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Questions about Medicare? I'm Joel Lurie, and at Lurie Life and Health, we can help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget. The Medicare annual enrollment period is from October 15th to December 7th. Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency? Lurie Life and Health. We're local, independent, and can help you over the phone or in our office. And our service is at no cost to you. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 03-256-2067.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting search and rescue teams are plucking Florida residents from the flotsam of Hurricane Milton after the storm smashed through coastal communities. The storm tore homes into pieces, filled streets with mud, and spawned a barrage of deadly tornadoes. At least 6 people are dead, arriving just 2 weeks after the misery wrought by Hurricane Helene. The system also knocked out power to more than 3 million customers. Millions of retirees who receive Social Security benefits will see a 2.5% cost of living increase to their monthly checks beginning in January. That word comes Thursday from the Social Security Administration. Agency officials say the cost of living adjustment, or COLA, for retirees translates to more than $50 more on average per retiree every month. More details at srnnews.com.
I was thinking about the things that matter to me when it comes to calling the plumber. First, most of us call the plumber out of a need, often a crisis. So you want reliability. Then, we're in a vulnerable place already, so you want someone you can trust, someone who will be fair in their pricing and handle things professionally. These are some of the reasons I feel comfortable recommending Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. See, they've been out to my home. They've been out to my brother's home, too. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning did such a great job. And you know, maybe this might not matter as much to some people, but they're really owned. A lot of these plumbing companies you've heard of used to be local, and now they're owned by big national or even international conglomerates. Working with a locally owned company matters. It keeps your pricing down, and the money stays local here in the community. Josh and his team at Franklin makes customer service their top priority. I trust them. You can too, especially during these vulnerable times. Online, it's franklinplumbing.sc.com, or call them 799-2222. That's 799-2222.
The hunting season is here. Whether you hunt in the woods or near the water, Palmetto State Armory has you covered with everything you need for the season. PSA has a complete inventory of AR-style rifles, bolt-action rifles, shotguns, and outdoor apparel, decoys, and more from all of your favorite brands. Visit PalmettoStateArmory.com to find the store nearest you. Palmetto State Armory, American-made for life.
It's fall in Casey, West Columbia. It is so wonderful. And now it's time for Rhythm on the River, proudly presented by the Greater Casey, West Columbia Chamber. Friday night, October 11th, it's the Van Morrison Tribute Band, One Irish Rover, at the Riverwalk Amphitheater. What a party. There'll be great food trucks, wonderful music, and the best atmosphere. It's Rhythm on the River. For more information on this and all events, check out the website, www.visitcwcsc.com.
As we 10 fantastic years at Sweet Comfort Services, we're cooling you off with unbeatable deals on all SEER 2 and high-efficiency AC equipment. Hey Point family, mention this ad and get a thorough spring maintenance check from our expert non-commissioned techs for just $95 for your first system and a chill $45 each additional system. Look us up at sweethvac.com or call us at 331-8143. Celebrating a decade of keeping you cool and comfy. That's the Sweet Comfort promise.
Hey gardeners, expert or beginner, come out and get your seeds and plants from Growing Your Garden with Sal this season. They're an SE certified farm offering local vegetable seedlings as well as plants and seeds. We teach you how to grow your garden even if you don't have a green thumb. Online at salslocalseed.com or visit 113 Hilltop Drive in Columbia. That's salslocalseed.com. Support your local farmers.
up ACC basketball tip-off for the 2024-25 season. ACC still maintaining itself as the premier basketball league in all of college basketball. We'll see about that. That'll be very good, of course. They're going to have some very strong teams as always. Always attract some of the top players in the country, but it's more spread out now. SEC's got a lot of good teams. Big 10, Big 12, even some of your other leagues have teams from time to time. Big East, don't forget about the Big East and what they can do. So, but the ACC still kind of feels like they're the standard for college basketball. And if you grew up in this area, you still kind of feel that way, the ACC being like the granddaddy of it all for college basketball. Phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And Cleveland's taking a 1-0 lead on Detroit as they play in the top of the second in Detroit, trying to even that series. Let's go back to the phones. Andy in Columbia. Welcome in here on Sports Talk. How are you?
I am doing great. How about you there, Mr. Korn?
Man, I tell you what, couldn't be finer. Love coming to these events and just listen to people talk, listen to them break down their teams, listen to the different questions that people have about the teams. Really enjoy it.
Oh, please. You like the free foods you get. That's the only reason you go.
Actually, I missed the media lunch. I had to pay for myself, which is just fine.
Oh, my Lord. Okay. For Sankey and whatever his name is, how about Beavis and Butthead or Joe and Schmo?
I mean, you don't like some of the plans they have? You don't like the way they're dragging college football, the direction they're dragging it into?
Oh, I think it's pretty much being drugged from all directions, and it's not just them. It's more, maybe we should just call them, dollarized, because that's all they got in their brains is the dollars that's going to be flowing in. But you know what? I guess that's good for USC. Because the more dollars Sankey can get into the conference, the more dollars South Carolina makes out of the conference. So, what can we say about that? Now, we didn't talk about this. I didn't hear you say much about this at all. The first firing in the NFL this year goes to my wonderful New York Jets and getting rid of Mr. Saleh. I'm glad they finally decided today to take the offensive play calling away from Hackett. I think that might be a bigger move than firing Saleh. But
I wonder how Aaron Rodgers feels about that, because he and Hackett have been tied at the hip for most of his career. He loves the guy.
Well, according to him, we all know it's BS. He has no say in it, and he's just there. But I'll tell you one thing. The man, in London, watching that game the other morning, Sunday morning, the man threw a pick six, threw two more picks. I mean, the Jets had a chance to win. Maybe with someone who might be quarterbacking right now in Minnesota, who they lost to. Maybe the Jets would have won.
Maybe.
You think your man Aaron there is kind of getting a little bit past his. Well, we know he's past his prime, but
I think that Aaron Rodgers is a rhythm quarterback, and when he gets into his flow, when he gets into his rhythm, when he gets into his confidence with his receivers, he's unstoppable. You notice that he's still, he has his favorite receiver everywhere. Well, Green Bay and now the Jets, and he's got what's his name? The former Packer there with him, who's his primary receiver, right? His favorite receiver. Help me with the name.
Yeah, but he went to Garrett 12 times, 13 times this past Sunday, so he was trying to change around a little bit.
But who is the guy that was with him in Green Bay? Gosh,
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But there's no downfield. Doesn't seem to be any downfield passing.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm not an observer of the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers. I have flushed him from my my memory banks since he moved on. I've gone on to my guy, pulled out a nice road win against the Rams on Sunday. Found a way to win. So all you got to do is find a way to win in the NFL. Doesn't have to be pretty. Doesn't have to be big. Just find a way. That's all we do. Find a way.
Well, it's just it's what we expect from the Jets.
Well, even by Jet standards, this was pretty cold and pretty abrupt. I mean, this guy
the last one
seems
they
to be a
fired.
guy. He seems to be a guy who was universally liked by everybody. Seemed to be liked by these players.
The last coach they fired mid-season, right?
I don't know. Jets history, who knows?
He coached here at the University of South Carolina.
Head coach mid-season?
Yeah. They coached at the university. That was a head coach at South Carolina.
Oh, Lou Holtz.
Exactly.
When did he coach? I can't remember. When did he coach the Jets? What year was
exactly.
What year was that? When was that?
God, that was back in the was it late 70s, early 80s?
Man.
He was I don't even think he lasted a year.
Mm-hmm.
He was a goner.
Yeah.
But that was the last one. But I also heard that, Woody Johnson didn't hire Saleh. It was his brother who hired him. And that had been a problem with inside the organization.
Yeah.
Woody was too busy over in, England being ambassador. And also they say that was a big problem, too, losing in London in front of all of his buddies over there. Kind of put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. And, Aaron Rodgers, that's 2 trips in a row to London where he's lost. And his previous trip, they lost to the Giants. He got hurt, missed much of the season. And this past time, they fall behind to the Vikings, can't pull it out. He gets knocked around. He got hurt, remember. He had to come out for a brief time after he got roughed up on a tackle. He needs to stay out of London because he's had no fun on that trip. Andy, got to run. Appreciate the phone call. Always enjoy talking about the misery that is the New York Jets. Okay, Brad Brownell, Clemson basketball coach, one of the last coaches in at ACC basketball tip-off today here in Charlotte. Actually, it was going on for a couple of days. They had the women and the men coming through. Here is Coach Brad Brownell. He did a session with the media in the main room along with his 2 players. Then they take them to what we call the breakout room, where basically the same questions are asked again, just in a more informal setting, and he's surrounded closely by the media. So here we are with Brad Brownell taking questions from the media about his team for this upcoming season.
Coach, you guys took a big step last year. How do you go about building on that? Taking either bigger step?
Yeah, just consistency and approach. It'll be a different team, completely different. 9 new players, and I'm optimistic that our depth will be a strength. I don't know, when you lose a P.J. Hall and a Joe Girard, those are 2 high-level guys. We certainly have other really good players, but those are big shoes to fill. I think we're going to have to use more than just 1 or 2 players to fill it. It's going to take a team effort, and we need to have good depth to be good this year. We need to stay healthy like a lot of people, but I'm optimistic that that'll be our strength.
DJ in particular, he brought a unique skill set on the floor, but also unique leadership.
No question.
How do you replace that?
Yeah, I think that's as much of a replacement as just the points. Sometimes when you lose all these points, you got to remember that somebody's getting those shots. So some other guy's going to get the opportunity. Can he do it? We'll see. But the behind-the-scenes leadership of a Hunter Tyson, of P.J. Hall the last couple of years is they outgoing personalities, guys that were kind of wired to handle that better. P.J. grew into the role. It wasn't, maybe he's not always as serious as a Hunter Tyson, but in a different way, the way he played and carried himself, guys understood what he was all about. Chase is a quiet guy. I mean, it's just his nature. He doesn't change temperament very much. And so getting him to open up and grow into that has been, something we've worked on, and Ian kind of as well. He's a little more carefree at times like PJ. And so that'll be a part with this team when we go through some adversity. Can those guys help steady the ship?
What's your expectation for someone like Chauncey Wiggins this year as he gears up to continue
I'm
that
optimistic he's going to take a big step forward. I'd love to see him make the kind of jump that Ian did. He started some games as a sophomore just like Ian did, and Ian took that big jump forward when he became a regular starter. Chauncey should have that opportunity this year, but he's going to have to do a lot of things other than just make a shot. Like he needs to block a shot. He needs to rebound the ball. He needs to use his 6'9" frame to get involved in the game in a lot of different ways. I think he's ready to do that. He's worked really hard in the weight room to add 30 pounds of strength. He just needs some good things to happen for him early. He needs to build confidence. I think, his best basketball will still happen later in his career, but hopefully it's, January, February of this year, he's at a point where he's really feeling good about himself and playing well.
Where is Christian Reeves health-wise, and how do you see his role this year?
Pretty good. More good days than bad in terms of his health. He's got ankles that have had problems, and so there are days we got to give him off here now and then. But for the most part, he's doing well. He's a big guy. He's got good hands. I'd love to see him, play 10 minutes a game this year. That would be a win. He has played so little basketball in the last couple of years that you not only forget and get used to the speed of the game and everything that goes with it, the physicality, the day-to-day grind. And I think sometimes what I'm finding out now is when you're 7'1", as big as they are, like the wear and tear on your body is even more. And so we've got to do a good job as a staff of trying to monitor that. I think we have to this point. We really took his development from when he came to campus slow to try to build his confidence back, to have success, to gain confidence, to get strength, where he needed it. But I think he's doing some good things, and I'm optimistic that he's going to be a good contributor for us this year.
I guess Dallas Thomas, any initial impressions on where he is in terms
of... He's one of those guys. He's a little bit like Chauncey as a young player in that, he's got a lot to learn. Physically, he's not ready, but then he does something that defensively, he'll contest a shot, he'll block a shot, he'll do something that you're like, wow, that's impressive. Like he moves really well, easily, athletically for a guy that big, that long. He's just weak. And he'll make a shot or he'll make an offensive play, a drive or something that really lets you think this guy's going to have some good days ahead in the future. Can he play this year? We'll see. I don't know. He's got to continue to, he's behind because of being physically a little weak, and he's behind just being a freshman. But, man, he shows signs of some really good things.
Has it gotten to the point now, I think coaches, when the portal started, coaches were a little sheepish about taking players from within the conference, and now it just seems standard operating.
It is. It really is now. I don't know how many years ago this was. We met at the ACC head coaches meeting and had a big discussion about, is our rule of sitting out 2 years or whatever like crazy? Are we penalizing our own league because when we have a good player leave, they're not going to go in the league, they're going to go to somebody else, and now the SEC's better or the Big 12's are better or whoever gets them is better, and we need to be, well, obviously that's all changed, right? Like we're and a lot of times it's kids you've recruited, sometimes it isn't. But yeah, it's not so much. I think more times than not, the guy who's leaving probably and the head coach are like, yeah, it's probably either time to leave or there's a reason for the leaving. So if somebody else in the league picks it up, you just kind of go with it.
In that regard, how can Zachary help you?
Yeah, I think he can help us with his competitiveness. I think he's different than Joe Girard. He's obviously a better defensive player. He's not going to shoot the volume of threes that Joe did. They're not wired the same way. But he's wired to win. He's a competitive guy. He plays well with others. Like, he's not a ball dominant guard. He's just a guard that you don't really run a bunch of plays for. You just kind of let him go out there and play with your guys and maybe run one for him every once in a while. But he's going to make plays. He's going to do tough things. He's a team guy. It's a little bit like an Ian that way. Ian's that way. They just find ways to make winning plays and do tough things that your teams need. And so he's adjusting nicely. It is different, even though Earl and I have a lot of similarities and we do a lot of similar things. There are some differences that he's adjusting to, but I'm certainly glad he's with us.
You got to think that when you recruited Godfrey a few years ago, you were maybe thinking it whenever PJ left that Godfrey would be that big guy to slide in. So now you lose them both at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, disappointing because, the hard part is when you invest in a young player for 2 years and get them good. Like help get them good, get them to where they're ready, you think, to take the next big step. If it doesn't work out that they stay, there's, it's a little bit of a gut punch. Because every time you bring in new players, there is an adjustment. Our big adjustment right now is, I think people forget, Jake Heidbritter and Asa both redshirted. We really have 9 new players. And so, it's been a little slow going in terms of our practices, in terms of me implementing what I want implemented and getting all the things in. And there's a lot of stopping and starting and teaching and taking time that we haven't done as much of the last couple of years because we've had older rosters that are filled with Clemson guys that we already know what coach wants. We kind of know these things. We're ready to move on. And so those things are hard. When you think that like an RJ would know all this, it'd be another guy that already knows our front court. Mostly new players except for Ian. And so the system has taken longer to implement than, we would like, but you just got to do what you got to do.
Is Heidbritter fully healthy and ready to go?
He is. Yeah, Jake's doing well. He's fully healthy. He's practicing every day. He's a guy that gives you good energy. I think he plays really hard, makes a shot, good cutter off the ball. He's excited to have him, see what he's going to do this year.
All right, there you go. Brad Brownell from here at the ACC tip-off. Shane Beamer having his weekly call-in show tonight. Updated the injuries and nothing really new. Jared Brown, lower body injury. Hope to get him back soon. He's out for Saturday. DeAndre Jules, Jalewis Solomon have been downgraded to out as of tonight. Davion Campbell, O'Donnell Future, they've been upgraded. They will play, according to Beamer. Hit the break. Back in a moment.
Calling all turkey hunters. This is Major Billy Danner with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Turkey season is coming soon. The most common accident while turkey hunting, failing to identify a target. Know the identifying features of a turkey. Make sure of your target and what lies beyond it before you pull the trigger. Remember, safe hunting is no accident. For more information on hunter education, visit dnr.sc.gov.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-971 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
Set your youth up for a lifetime of financial success with Smart Start from Founders Federal Credit Union. Smart Start products and educational resources help teach kids and teens the basics of saving, budgeting, and smart spending. Help them learn smart money skills to jumpstart their financial journey with Smart Start savings, debit, certificates, and educational resources. Learn more at foundersfcu.com/smartstart. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. People who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with the family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoke, grill, slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has introduced a new rolling jackpot, and it's big.
How big? Bigger than a striped bass? Reel 'em in.
Way bigger.
Bigger than this world-class golf course? Or
bigger than that.
Even bigger than the Gaffney Peach?
Let's just say with this new rolling jackpot, Palmetto Cash 5 is officially too big to ignore. Palmetto Cash 5 draws nightly, so play today and check if your numbers are winners in the Players Club app or at seeducationlottery.com.
Overall odds are 1 in 10. Top prize odds are 1 in 850,668.
We are back on Sports Talk from here in Charlotte, wrapping things up. ACC basketball media days for 2024-5. They call it the ACC tip-off, actually. Of course, we got football tonight involving a state team. That's why Chris Bergen, you might have noticed, is not with us. Coastal Carolina got a big one for the Chanticleers tonight as they play at James Madison. Both teams are 4-1. And a chance here for Coastal Carolina to really make a Sun Belt Conference statement if they can go in and beat this very good Dukes team. Of course, they became very well known after they went into Chapel Hill and put 70 on the board against North Carolina. That really opened people's eyes. This Coastal Carolina offense, however, it's been very good. They're 6th nationally at 439. Make that 39th nationally, 6th in the league, 39th nationally at 439 yards per game. JMU's at 442, so they both have very explosive offenses. And Coastal is averaging 38 points a game. That's 21st nationally, 2nd in the league. JMU's averaging 39 points per game. So these two teams have outstanding offenses. How about their defenses? Coastal's giving up about 30. JMU's giving up 18. Coastal's giving up 395 total. JMU gives up 343. So a little bit of a difference there. However, Coastal Carolina's been very good at defensive touchdowns, at creating turnovers. So this could be a very interesting game. The quarterback play for Coastal has been very good here of late. And so if they can keep that up, that'll give them a fighting chance in this game. Plus, I think they're getting a couple of banged-up players back for this one, like one of their key running backs. So we'll see how this one plays out up in Harrisonburg, Virginia. It will be on ESPN2. They'll kick it off at 7:30. And Chris Bergen is there, of course, play-by-play for Coastal Carolina. He'll have a post-game for you up on our website afterwards with Coach Tim Beck. That'll be up on our website later on tonight. Not sure exactly when based on his travel situation at SportsTalkSC.com. This weekend, I'll be out. I'll be out tomorrow and out on Saturday. But we have got everything covered. Of course, Josh will be back in tomorrow night. Chris Bergen will handle the high school show and Sports Talk tomorrow night. And we will have Matt Smith in Winston-Salem for Clemson and Wake Forest. And our buddy Chris Deering, longtime sports writer, contributor to Sports Talk. He is going to be in Tuscaloosa covering the Gamecocks on our X and on our website on Saturdays. We got it all covered for you right here on Sports Talk, and we'll be back.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Cleanup has begun in areas of Florida hit hard by Hurricane Milton, which crashed into the state yesterday evening. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis urges residents to be cautious of hazards.
We have post-storm fatalities almost every storm, and a lot of these fatalities are avoidable. So please be cautious of down power lines. Don't touch them. Don't remove tree debris that may be entangled with down power lines.
At least 6 people are known dead in the aftermath of the storm, and at least 3 million people remain without power. President Biden says Hurricane Milton caused significant damage, but evacuations and other measures helped save lives. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Hours after Milton came ashore and roared across central Florida, the president was briefed on the storm's impact.
We know life-saving measures did make a difference.
But he warned of still dangerous conditions in the hurricane's aftermath.
More lives were lost the days following the storm than actually during the storm itself.
The president especially thanked military personnel who dispatched to help with cleanup from both Helene and Milton. Greg Clugston, the White House.
President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke by phone yesterday. Aviv Reddick Gur of the Times of Israel explains to the Salem radio network Israel's fight with Hezbollah.
For 12 months, Hezbollah has been bombarding Israeli cities. Probably over a dozen towns have been demolished. Tens of thousands, somewhere in the order of 70, possibly as much as 100. It's hard to actually count. 1,000 Israelis have been displaced for those 12 months. Israel has begged Hezbollah through American interlocutors to stop.
Israeli airstrikes on Beirut today killed 18 and wounded 92. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hello, everyone. This is your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, with some very exciting news. Remember, my gold sneakers, they went like crazy. Everybody's talking about them. They're still talking about them. People went wild for them, and that's good. They sold out in a matter of hours. So get my new Trump sneakers and don't miss out.
Hey, everyone. Yes, you heard that right. President Donald J. Trump has released a limited number of gold low-top sneakers. These Trump sneakers won't last long. Don't miss out like last time. Don't get shut out. Go to GetTrumpSneakers.com to get your gold Trump sneakers. That's GetTrumpSneakers.com. It's an easy URL to remember. That's GetTrumpSneakers.com. See GetTrumpSneakers.com for details. Trump sneakers are not intended for investment purposes. Hurry! Go now to GetTrumpSneakers.com. That's GetTrumpSneakers.com.
Tropicana Field, home of Tampa Bay's Major League Baseball team and a makeshift storm shelter, has suffered significant damage from Hurricane Milton. Correspondent Gethin Kulba reports.
Debris scattered across the field and throughout the seating area after the deadly storm barreled across Florida. Aerial video and images showed the domed building's roof completely tattered, giving a clear line of sight into the stadium. It's the latest sports venue severely damaged by weather. Others include the Metrodome roofs, the Dallas Cowboys practice facility collapse, the Georgia Dome roof getting partially ripped off, and the Superdome getting damaged by Hurricane Katrina. I'm Gethin Kulba.
Expectations are high for Tesla's long-awaited robo-taxi unveiling at a Hollywood studio tonight. It's too high for some investors and analysts. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and chilly this evening with a low temperature dipping to 48. Tomorrow, another beautiful day. Sunshine, a high of 73, and we'll stay dry. Nothing but sunshine through the weekend and even into next week. High temperatures in the upper 70s and low 80s for Saturday and Sunday. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. It's Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this big Thursday night as we come to you from what they call uptown Charlotte. I like to call it downtown Charlotte, but I don't live here, so I have to call it what they want to call it. Uptown Charlotte, here at the Hilton City Center. Beautiful hotel. Great location for the ACC basketball tip-off, which we attended today. First hour, we heard from Clemson coach Brad Brownell. He talked about his team and a bunch of newcomers that he's got on his team for this year, trying to duplicate, if not improve on, what they did last year. I think he would be very happy to be in a situation to get to the Elite Eight. Think about that. They were in the Elite Eight, and they had a 14-point first-half lead over Alabama. And then all of a sudden, Mark Sears got red hot. And Nick Pringle, who's now at South Carolina, Nick Pringle was outstanding in that game. So if the Tigers can make that kind of run again, that would be wonderful. But it's going to take a little bit of time. I think people need to be patient because they have so many newcomers in their organization. It's going to take a little bit of time for it all to come together. Now, for those of you just joining us, over to football as we look ahead to the games coming up this weekend. And we've heard from the South Carolina coaches, Clemson coaches. Always like to hear from the opposing coaches when we can arrange to hear from them. And, of course, Alabama's in a very unique situation because for the first time in 40 years, they are preparing to play a game after losing to Vanderbilt, a most unusual position for Alabama to be in. Unfortunately, South Carolina is the next team up on the schedule. Unfortunate for South Carolina. I think there's a lot better times you want to face Alabama in Tuscaloosa than when you're just coming off, when Alabama is just coming off a loss, especially a loss to Vanderbilt. Now, you know, this is why beating Vanderbilt for Alabama would have been so good for South Carolina because next week Alabama plays who? Tennessee. Had they beaten Vanderbilt, everything would have been normal. And maybe in the heads of some of the players, they might have wandered forward a little bit to Tennessee. I don't think that will be the case now. I think South Carolina gets Alabama's full Monty, 100% concentration and focus on the Gamecocks after losing last week. They can't afford to look past South Carolina. They've got to be dialed in. But here is Kalen DeBoer, first-year Alabama coach. You realize that loss that he took at Vanderbilt was only in his coaching career his 13th loss. He's had only 13 losses. He's had only 13 losses in his entire coaching career. So the guy's a winner. He doesn't suffer losses easily, especially now. He knows Alabama losing to Vanderbilt. Totally unacceptable. So this week at his press conference, previewing South Carolina, I mean, even the media there really couldn't handle the loss to Vanderbilt well. They couldn't let it go. I mean, that was on their mind still when he had his press conference this week. So here he is making opening comments, taking a few questions. Kalen DeBoer talking about that loss and looking ahead to South Carolina.
Disappointed, upset, fired up, and I think, you're always looking at what the response is. And they came yesterday back, the thing you have to provide as coaches is the answers, an understanding of where we go from here. And I think our staff did a nice job, and I think our guys did a great job responding with the right mindset, with the right attitude, brought some great energy. Probably one of the nice things about having a Sunday where we get together is, we get to move on. Outside of the building, the game gets held on to for not a day, probably not a week. For some people, you hold on to it for the rest of your life. But for these guys, they don't get the choice. And we as a staff and them together have to move on. And we've done that after yesterday. understanding where we got to get better. We know we're a work in progress. Not a finished product by any means, and that showed up on Saturday. But the key is that we continue to improve, and that's one of our core values is to have a relentless pursuit of continuous improvement. The guys showed that they want to do that, and sticking together and owning it in every way, and that's staff to every player on the football team. So proud of that part, and there's each side of the ball, all phases of the game, where we can continue to just keep building. We have a great football team. I'm convinced of that. I have no doubt of that. I believe in these guys. I believe in them more when I see the resiliency that they have, whether it's during the games that we've played, not just this last game, but different games. The way that they prepared that leads to the passion that comes out on the football field and that resiliency. They got fight in them. They want to win bad. They want to uphold all the traditions of Alabama football, and no one feels worse about this than all of us here in this building, the football team and our coaches. So we're looking forward to South Carolina here this next week. Coach Beamer, continue to build on the program there, doing some really nice things. Physical football team, and they're coming off of a tough game as well with Ole Miss there, and things not going their way. So we know it's going to be another fight here in the world of the SEC.
Yeah, Tyler Booker mentioned when talking about just a lack of discipline at times, focus he thought was an issue. How would you assess the focus of this group during the game?
When you come out on the short end, everything gets amplified, right? You look into everything on another level. And so in regards to that, since that was the question, you can point to every little thing that happened and it being a lack of focus or discipline and having to do it better. And I think what it really comes down to is doing it better over and over. And when we gave ourselves little room for error with the way the game started, right? They go down and put a nice drive together, and then we have the ball bounce off the helmet, goes for an interception for a touchdown, and so we leave ourselves very little room for error, knowing that the plan that they already had in place, because it showed up on film in weeks prior to playing us, is that they will play ball control offense. They'll let the clock run down, shorten the game. They get a lead even more so, and then the whole taking them out of their game is going to be harder to do because we're playing from behind. So offensively, we had to kind of probably lose some of the balance that we thought we could have offensively with a run pass. We had to speed up the game, try to add more possessions. We still only got 9 in the game, and that's having sped up the game. That's getting drives at the end of each half where we're trying to move the ball, quickly. So the little mistakes are always going to be, the mistakes are always going to be looked at as areas where the focus or the discipline wasn't there. But I tell you, our guys prepared. All the noise outside the building, I thought our guys did as good of a job as they could. Everyone's human, so the pats in the back or whatever they got, but I thought that they were focused on the right things all week long. The effort, the work that was put in seemed like a really good, solid week. The ball literally didn't bounce our way a couple times. We have to make our own breaks and do a better job of making that happen to where the ball ends up in our hands, whether it's forcing turnovers or making sure that we don't put the ball on the ground and turn it over ourselves. So if all those things are part of that question, then I guess that would add to what he said after the game. Book has a good pulse of everything that's happening on the team, and so I trust that, and we've had great conversations. The whole leadership group since Saturday, and I feel like we're in a good spot.
Cannot get over the fact that Vanderbilt had the ball for 42 minutes of that ball game. Had 26 first downs. Converted an unbelievable number of third downs. You have to do that to get 26 first downs. I tell you, South Carolina, they've just got to keep Alabama from having those monster big plays that they're so famous about. Ryan Williams got to hope that your corners and having a healthy O'Donnell Fortune will help. You got to hope that your corners are good enough. I mean, Williams is a young guy with a big reputation. He averages 28 yards a catch. So he's obviously dangerous. You got to play him very smartly. Their running game has not been, they have two running backs. I mean, one averages over 8 a carry, one averages over 7 a carry. So, and then there's Milroe, who also runs the ball a lot. They got two running backs in Milroe who handle most of the ground game. Tight end is a weapon as well in their offense. So, always a lot of weapons at Alabama. The big play is kind of what they live off of. South Carolina's got to figure out a way to not get overwhelmed by the big play there in Tuscaloosa, not let this game get away from them. Okay, after the break, we're going to hear from Dave Clawson, the Wake Forest coach, and also the recruiting report. Very nice photo put out today by Ross Taylor at Clemson of Terry Don Phillips and Dabo Swinney in the midst of all the players at practice today. It was Terry Don Phillips who 16 years ago hired Dabo Swinney to be the Tigers' new head coach. 16 years ago, 3 days shy of that, and of course the rest is history for what Swinney has done. Good to see Terry Don Phillips there out and about.
Calling all turkey hunters, this is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Turkey season is coming soon. The most common accident while turkey is to identify your target. Know the identifying features of a turkey. Make sure of your target and what lies beyond it before you pull the trigger. Remember, safe hunting is no accident. For more information on hunter education, visit dnr.sc.gov.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
Set your youth up for a lifetime of financial success with Smart Start from Founders Federal Credit Union. Smart Start products and educational resources help teach kids and teens the basics of saving, budgeting, and smart spending. Help them learn smart money skills to jumpstart their financial journey with Smart Start savings, debit, certificates, and educational resources. Learn more at foundersfcu.com/smartstart. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
In Columbia, South Carolina, games are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
Some insurance carriers are based in another state or only have an online presence. Not at Farm Bureau Insurance. They're a local South Carolina company that believes commitment comes with a handshake. Become part of the Farm Bureau Insurance family today by calling Buddy Bridges at 864-984-03 or stop by the Upstate office at 726 East Main Street in Lawrence.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosteller-Brown. Did you know it's possible to avoid probate court after you die, regardless of what you own? Why put your loved ones through a long, stressful public process when there are better options for your family? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
George Bryant here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different, it's engaging,
but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
Listen to me now.
Get to recruiting in just a moment here on Sports Talk. Update the baseball game, Cleveland and Detroit. They are 1-1 in the middle of the fourth. Cleveland scored a run in the first. Detroit scored a run in the bottom of the second. Now to Dave Clawson, head coach at Wake Forest. Stephen Deacons preparing to take on the Clemson Tigers Saturday in Winston-Salem. It's been all Clemson in this series. As you know, the Tigers have won 15 in a row, looking to keep their hot run going as they move up the rankings, up as high as number 10 in the AP. A lot of respect from Dave Clawson. Here's the Wake Forest coach.
This has been, to me, the most dominant program in the ACC over the last decade. What Dabo's built at Clemson, to me, the consistency of it, the championship level program that he built and has been able to maintain is one of the most impressive coaching jobs in the whole country. They're a complete football team. Their quarterback, Klubnik, I don't know what they did in the offseason down there with him, but he looks bigger, stronger, and faster. He's a good pocket passer, but what really scares you is some of the plays he makes with his feet. He ran a quarterback counter against NC State, one of his scrambles against Florida State. He's capable of making explosive plays with his arm and his feet. They're averaging over 450 yards and close to 40 points a game. And it's even more impressive when you take out the Georgia game, right? It's close to 50 points a game if you take that one out. Maffa is, to me, he'll be the best or one of the top 2 or 3 best running backs that we'll see all year. I know North Carolina has a really good back, but this guy's impressive. He's 6'2", 6'1", 230 pounds, and he has breakaway speed. And if you try to arm tackle him, it's not going to turn out real well. Their receiver core, to me, they're back to looking like Clemson. The Antonio Williams, the Vesco. I don't know if Tyler Brown's going to play or not. TJ Moore. When I first got here, this was wide receiver U. And, I think it kind of fell off a little bit. And now it's like they look like they're coming back to where they were. But I think the real story about Clemson is you'd say, okay, what's the biggest difference is the O-line. They've got 113 career starts. It's a veteran group. And, coaching matters. And the offensive line coach they hired, Matt Luke, has done a phenomenal job with them. I mean, these guys are playing physically, assertively, with confidence. The way they take the ball and point things out, and the physicality that they're playing with. And what that allows them to do is be balanced. This is now a football team that can run and throw the football, and they can beat you either way. And those are the teams you hate playing against. So whatever tweaking they did in the offseason from last year with a new coordinator and a new O-line coach, I think they've found their sweet spot. And it's really, I'd enjoy watching it if we didn't have to play against it. And defensively, Clemson is Clemson. It's always one of the top units in the country. It starts up front for them. It always has. The TJ Parker was a freshman All-American. Every other defensive lineman that starts for him is over 300 pounds. And really where they're most impressive is the depth. They have 9 guys that are averaging over 25 plays a game. So they're good, and they've got a lot of them. Carter is one of the best linebackers in the country. His versatility, his ability to play in or outside the box, as a blitzer, as a run fitter, as a coverage guy. And what's really impressive about him is what he does on their punt team. That's one thing that Clemson's always done is their best players have always played on special teams. Goes back to Wilkins being on the punt team. And, watching him perform on special teams, he's a high-level player there as well. And the secondary is excellent. R.J. Mickens, the one safety, is just an outstanding open space tackler. Both corners, Lucas and Terrell, will be some of the very best in the conference. So always a tough matchup, but always a great challenge. The last 2 years, it's been a very competitive football game. And, we need people to show up and wear black at a legacy stadium. And, we had a home field advantage in this game 2 years ago, and it helped. And it would be great if we had it again. So with that, I'll take any questions.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
I have a question. Why y'all wearing black on Saturday? It'll be 12 o'clock. Of course, it'll be kind of foolish, I guess. Heat won't be a factor. It'll be a black Saturday for Wake Forest. I look for Clemson to put a big number. I look for Clemson to cover. And, I think the Gamecocks take the points. I think they can finish within the points as I think about it. They're going to play better. They're going to play better than they did last week. Alabama is too. So maybe the Gamecocks can play within 3 touchdowns. More on that tomorrow when the guys are picking games. All right, to recruiting, and it is brought to you by Seawells. Okay, back in South Carolina. Charlotte's got a lot of great things, Josh. They do not have a Seawells, and they do not have a roast beef Friday.
That's right. They don't. Do you want to hear the rest of the menu? Is that what you're giving me for?
That's the cue.
Okay. Just making sure, Honey barbecue and hot chicken wings and fried sway nuggets. Fried fish nuggets.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the roast beef and the gravy.
Yeah. Roast beef and the gravy and all about the gravy, as Pat would say.
Hey, if you're heading out to the State Fairgrounds, don't forget Seawells with all their property over there. They're right across the street from the Rocket. They got parking for you as well. So if you need a place to park, go over to Seawells, have yourself a great lunch. You can park, go to the fair. Then you can eat some of the junk inside the fair and throw your guts up before you get back in your car. They got a lot of – you can throw your guts up over there at Seawells in the parking area. It's a lot big field back there. So hopefully it will rain and wash it all away. But anyway, have a good time, lunch and buffet, and then get over to the fair. All of that at Seawells. And, of course, reach out to them for catering, 803-771-7385, and then online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. South Carolina offered defensive tackle Christian Ingram, 6'6", 280, Covington, Georgia. He's been a hot recruit in the last few weeks. Clemson, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Colorado, Michigan, Kentucky, all getting on board with him. South Carolina just did this offer, he said, came out of the blue. His coach had talked to Travian Robertson at USC. They had not been recruiting him until Robertson called him and made him the offer. So it's been sort of out of the blue, but they've hit it off, and they are building a nice relationship. In fact, Ingram has set an official to South Carolina for November 23rd. Also talking with Clemson, defensive line coach Nick Eason about an official. He was at Clemson for the NC State game, and he says he loves Clemson. And he says definitely fun being down at Death Valley for that game. Like the way their defensive line played. He's also been to Georgia, Alabama, and Auburn for games. No game this weekend. He is going to Kentucky October 26th, official. Michigan, official November 2nd. Georgia, official November 16th. Vanderbilt, November 30th, official. Kentucky, Michigan, and Georgia have been talking to him the most. Clemson target, 2026 offensive tackle Adam Guthrie, plans to visit Tennessee Saturday. Blythewood defensive tackle Sterling Sanders was offered by Boston College. He has been committed to Georgia Southern, but he gets a big Power 5 offer there, or Power 4, as the case may be. Okay, that'll do it for recruiting, brought to you by Seawells. After the break, M&M boys coming up. Will Merritt, Corey Miller. Boy, tough Saturday for Corey. His two favorite teams took it on the chin. And we'll be back.
On Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. 100 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and chilly this evening with a low temperature dipping to 48. Tomorrow, another beautiful day. Sunshine, a high of 73, and we'll stay dry. We'll have nothing but sunshine through the weekend and even into next week. High temperatures in the
with H&J Cattle Company, where local third-generation farmers ensure you receive the finest beef in South Carolina. Our registered Hereford and Wagyu cattle are raised with sustainable practices, with outgrowth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. Taste the difference with the highest quality beef guaranteed. Order now at hdjcattle.co or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle CO. Again, hdjcattle.co, where ethics meets quality.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting rescue teams plucked Florida residents from the flotsam of Hurricane Milton on Thursday after the storm smashed through coastal communities where it tore homes into pieces, filled streets with mud, and spawned a barrage of deadly tornadoes. At least 6 people are dead. Authorities say 1 person is dead and 12 are trapped in a former Colorado gold mine after an elevator malfunctioned at the tourist site. Teller County Sheriff Jason Mikesell said Thursday the elevator descending into the Molly Kathleen gold mine near the Cripple Creek had a mechanical issue around 500 feet beneath the surface, creating a severe danger for the participants, and 1 person was killed. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 57 points, the Nasdaq dropped 9. More details at srnnews.com.
From the best-selling author.
I get frustrated when I see people getting scammed or misled. Some of these national TV spots pushing these scare tactics for Medicare coverage, they can be very misleading. You get bombarded every fall. You don't need to let this stress you out. See, I've worked with the folks at Hickory Hill Insurance. Tim Hanbury and his dynamic and growing team has helped my family on more than one occasion. Here's the thing. The world of Medicare is changing. The laws and the technology. Hickory Hill Insurance has it covered. The knowledge, the leadership, the latest tech, and very caring agents. Their response time to your calls, questions, and concerns is incredible. Remember, I know this. They've helped me. It's as simple as visiting their website, partdandme.com. And I bet you think it's going to cost a mountain of money. Nope, not a penny. Let the Hickory Hill team go to work for you. Visit partdandme.com. If they can help you find a better plan, they will. If they can't, they'll be honest. They'll tell you, stick with what you have, because that's who they are. Online, it's partdandme.com, or just call Hickory Hill Insurance 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
Hey y'all, my name's Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. It is football at Flight Deck. We're thrilled about football season. Of course, when you're watching football, there's nothing better than wings and ice-cold adult beverages. We here at Flight Deck are offering some of the most delicious wings that you'll ever wrap your lips around. Flight Deck Restaurant's got hot flamethrower wings, barbecue wings, teriyaki wings, honey mustard wings. Flight Deck will be featuring Carolina and Clemson football on all the TVs all the time. So come see some great football, enjoy great wings, and sip some ice-cold adult beverages. Flight Deck Restaurant in Lexington. Thanks y'all and God bless.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally by the NCUA.
It's fall in Casey, West Columbia. It is so wonderful. And now it's time for Rhythm on the River, proudly presented by the Greater Casey, West Columbia Chamber. Friday night, October 11th, it's the Van Morrison Tribute Band, One Irish Rover, at the Riverwalk Amphitheater. What a party. There'll be great food trucks, wonderful music, and the best atmosphere. It's Rhythm on the River. For more information on this and all events, check out the website, www.visitcwcsc.com.
Want to hear my success story? I'm Fran Halloran, the money coach. I'm celebrating a decade of partnering with The Point. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. I've used The Point to significantly grow my small business. It started with me, Kevin Cohen. Do you own a small business? Are you on a limited budget? No problem. Reach out to Kev at 563-8558. Get a customized plan and start your journey to business growth with The Point today. Success is one call away. Take the leap.
It's the M&M Boys on Sports Talk with former Clemson offensive lineman Will Merritt and former South Carolina linebacker Corey Miller on the Sports Talk Media Network.
M&M Boys with us here on Sports Talk on this big Thursday night. Great to have the two of them with us. Let's get right to it. Corey, you took the double kick in the butt on Saturday. How you feeling?
I feel amazing. I feel absolutely amazing. Because this is the day that the Lord has made. I rejoice always. Whether in victory, whether in defeat, I shall praise and rejoice.
Well, you are the pastor of pain. But listen, I mean,
Right.
Alabama Saturday losing to Vanderbilt, that just makes Alabama like an also-ran. You lose to Vanderbilt first time in 40 years?
Yeah, that was a tough one. And the fans, down there on our show was really struggling to what's going on from the players. I mean, it's just something they don't do. I mean, that's something Nick Saban would have never done. I mean, they might have played bad, might have made it look interesting, but they wouldn't have lost that game. But Kalen DeBoer has found out after all the love fest and the, I love you, mans, that, you can't lose like that here at Alabama or in the SEC. Things turn on you real fast. And it was a tough loss. They didn't play well. I thought at times they got out physical. They got out schemed. Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator, didn't make any adjustments trying to defend that option. And it was an embarrassing loss for them. And, on the flip side, it's going to be probably not good news for South Carolina in back-to-back weeks playing two good football teams that are coming off a loss. That really don't normally bode well.
Yeah, you don't want to face Alabama coming off their first loss to Vanderbilt in 40 years, and the fact they haven't lost back-to-back games in regular season play since 2007. That doesn't work in your favor. Hang on, Will. We're going to get to you in just a second, but Corey's got a double dip. So the Gamecocks had their share of issues in a lot of different ways on Saturday. That was a very disappointing performance in that you're at home, big crowd, a lot of recruits. You're feeling positive. You got 2 weeks to get ready, and you lay an egg like that. Not only did the players play poorly, but the coaches, and everybody saw it, the coaches made a bunch of mistakes on the sideline.
Yeah, starting with that fake punt early on in the game, I thought to me that was the big turning point. You can't, give a team like Ole Miss short field like that and give them, easy opportunities to score points. When you got an offense that really sometimes struggles offensively. So I thought the game was not called good. I thought, Loggins wasn't good as a play caller. The players didn't execute. I thought the defense was doing their job and gave them, numerous opportunities. They moved the ball and, they give it up on downs or another turnover. I mean, offensively just was not good. And that has been my concern consistently for this football team. I think the defense is a good enough defense to win. We saw that against LSU. They can make plays. They do a lot of good things. They turn people over. They get off the field. But I tell you what, man, this was not good for South Carolina, and for sure I'm a little bit concerned this week.
Well, should be. Will Merritt joining us now. I should mention, of course, Corey Miller, former Gamecock great, former NFL standout, and Will, who was a standout lineman at Clemson, was the ACC Offensive Lineman of the Week one time. So that's good. Just want to point out the awards that you won as well, Will. Don't want people to think that you didn't earn anything during your time at Clemson. So
listen, I'm just really thankful that my parents were able to purchase that award. So,
well, it helps that the Merritt family, provides all the field turf and the seeds and the plants around the university. No, seriously, Clemson kind of is starting to feel like a few years ago, Will. Not a whole lot of worries, beating people left and right. The ACC's kind of falling apart around them. I mean, it all looks good.
Well, it's got a similar feel that it does a few years ago when we made that run. This is a similar looking team. They're just beating people really. to death in the first quarter. I mean, 90-0 in the first quarters. And, you know, I mean, it like the games are over by halftime. Now, you can say whatever you want to about the opponents, but at the end of the day, I mean, when you're still beating people that bad, it still has that same feel to it. You know what I'm saying? It's got that same texture to the season to it.
Yeah. Well, you know, after having games where they scored so quickly with so many explosive plays, and you mentioned they built a comfortable lead against Florida State. Now, look, Florida State is a shell of itself, obviously, but still they were able to go, and it was sort of they ran Phil Moffitt 25 times, 154 yards. They were able to do a grinded-out style of football in that second half.
Sure.
And show that they can move the ball without just relying exclusively on the big play. Nothing wrong with the big play, but sometimes you got to show you can line up and control the football.
Yeah, but I don't think the score was indicative of how much they controlled that game. I mean, they pretty much had control of that game from the get-go. So I don't think that. I mean, you can say 29-13. That's the final score, but I don't think that's indicative of just how much they were in control of that ball game. Obviously, missing some field goals and things of that nature. But, I mean, they pretty much dominated that whole game.
Well, I guess you would say, if you want to nitpick and say having 7 field goal attempts, that's too many. You got to finish those drives against a good team. You got to get touchdowns, right?
I completely agree. I mean, the red zone is where that's where you make hay. You know, I mean, you gotta make hay when you're in the red zone. And they didn't do that. And I'm sure they're going to make some adjustments on that. But for the most part, I mean, when you're just going up and down the field on people, you know, you also got to say that the offense is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the defense is just playing absolutely lights out, and doing it without some key starters, you know, and they're going to get them back this weekend. And I know you don't have to worry about it against Wake Forest, but you know, it's going to be nice to have them back on the field and watch them play.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Clemson is only 10 of 22 with touchdowns in the red zone. That's 45%. Corey, you may be better than anybody in the country can analyze this Alabama and South Carolina game. You know them both so well. So Alabama's a 3-touchdown favorite. What can South Carolina possibly do to be in this game in the fourth quarter?
Well, they're going to have to run the ball. I mean, they're going to have to play keep away from Alabama. I mean, Jalen Milroe, you know, one or two best quarterbacks in the country. I mean, the dual threat at his best. I mean, he's extremely fast. He's big. He's powerful. He can extend play. He throws the ball very, very well. They got 2 running backs, really, that hasn't done much, but they are phenomenal. Sam Miller and Justice Haynes, because they've been so good at explosive plays. You know, Ryan Williams, a freshman, 17-year-old phenom. They got players. I mean, offensively, they're nice. They're center guards, probably top 2 or 3 in the country. They have issues on the outside. You know, the tackles can be beat, which I think South Carolina with Kennard and Stewart will have a chance to, you know, take advantage of that in the passing game. But I think to beat them, to have a chance to beat them, they're going to have to be able to run the football with the North Sellers, inside-outside zones, you know, some play action, use those tight ends in the middle of the field and that type of thing. But it concerns me with their offense. I just don't think they're really good enough at this point in time right now to beat a team like Alabama is going to be hungry, and especially the defense that has taken so much heat here over this past week.
Now you look at their lineup, should mention that their starting tight end, number 45, is Robbie Oots, who's out of Rock Hill. I think he went to Rock Hill High School. So time to time you see a South Carolinian pop up on the roster there at Alabama. Let me ask you this. So both head coaches had to deal with an on-field issue with a player in the last game. At Alabama, you had the case where Malachi Moore, their standout safety, refused to come off the field. when he was being subbed for, and the defensive coordinator actually walked out on the field, tried to get him off, and he was making a scene. And then in Columbia, you had Dylan Stewart, do what he did a couple of times. Both coaches have said both players have been punished internally in their respective buildings. Both players feel terrible about what they did. They're both great kids and all that kind of stuff, and that's all great and good. But in your day, had you acted up one way or the other like that, in your day, what would have happened? What would have happened?
I probably would have been on the next bus somewhere else. But listen, man. Malachi Moore is a two-time captain. He's been nothing but phenomenal for Kalen DeBoer. Buying into his system after he's been there under Nick Saban. But you can't do what you did. I don't mind the emotion, the passion, but you got to be controlled. You can't, and to me, the disrespect from a coach, right, who said you to come out and you wave him off, that to me warrants more than an internal punishment. He should be suspended at least a half. I mean, because you got him as a new coach, you got to make a statement to the rest of that locker room that you're in control, that the players don't control the asylum, so to speak. And so I was disappointed in Kalen DeBoer and how he handled the situation. I appreciate him having his back and understand that Malachi is a really nice and a good kid. He really is. But you can't do these types of things when you're a two-time captain. I was a captain. It's a privilege. That's one of the greatest privileges as an athlete you can have, that your peers vote you as a leader of the team. And that shouldn't be the action, right? And so they got to do something about it. Now, as far as Dylan Stewart, that's just knucklehead, dumb stuff. Really? I mean, you're going to sack the quarterback, Jackson Dart, and you do it twice, I believe. You're showing that you're shooting them, and then you do it with your teammate.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking? I mean, in a day where we have school shootings and all kinds of mess in this world, where people, why are you doing this? I mean, that ain't football to me. That's just downright stupidity. I don't care who you are, and I'm on shame with this one because this can't be done. You can't tell your high talented freshman, you can get away with this, or I'll punish you in the building. No. We don't stand for this. This is showing violence. This is showing something that's above and beyond just being, silly on the football field. You showing that, hey, I'm shooting this guy, right? I mean, that to me is too much. I'm sorry. I know it's Alabama week, but listen, you cannot allow this type of behavior, especially when you're getting your freaking tail kicked all over the football field. First of all, I'm not celebrating anything when I look up at that scoreboard and I'm getting drugged. That's just my opinion.
Will,
can I speak to this?
Yeah, because let me ask you the question. You can take over. I wanted to ask you. So, are today's coaches, the younger coaches, are they fearful of punishing their players in public by benching them? Are they afraid they'll lose them to the transfer portal, or what are they scared of?
Well, I mean, that's a great question, and I don't have an answer to that. I think that's a very good question because they always have options. I mean, they're always being offered money, and they're always being offered other opportunities. So I mean, that's a very fair question, and I don't think that that's something that should be overlooked. But I do think that Corey is exactly right about something. And let me just go back to the actions on the field. First of all, I wouldn't even been worried about my coaches. Okay, I would have been worried about my father because my dad would have probably pulled me off the field and spanked me in front of 80,000 people, in front of everybody, had I done something like that. Because I wouldn't have cared what my coaches did, but I mean, that's where it starts, man. It starts at home. I mean, these kids have got to have some discipline, and that's to me, that's the problem. But to answer your question, Phil, I will tell you this. I mean, this NIL money is getting so out of hand that, of course, they got options. I mean, they can do whatever they want to now, and they can just go say, all right, well, I won't play for you anymore. I'll go play for somebody else, and I'll make a bunch of money. And I think it's the wild, wild west right now, and I think that we're getting out of hand a little bit.
Yeah, and somebody will be willing to take them, that's for sure. Corey, back to Alabama. You mentioned the tackles, and I said earlier in reading some stuff that there's been a little bit of concern about the play of their offensive line. You mentioned the interior is very good. They got Caden Proctor at left tackle. Of course, he's that highly touted tackle, 6'7", 369, started at Alabama, transferred to Iowa, came back to Alabama. And then the other one is Wilkin Formby, 6'7", 324, a redshirt freshman who was heavily recruited. I remember Clemson was in on him coming out of Tuscaloosa. Are those two guys not playing up to snuff?
Yeah. Well, Formby is on the bench. He got benched after week 1, I believe. Pritchett, who's been around, who plays on sparingly, he's a starter at right tackle. Caden Proctor is a phenomenal talent. He's too big, in my opinion. He's good when you're trying to play smash mouth football. You know, if you're a defensive end that tries to bull rush and play that physical game in the pass rush, he's going to get you. You're not getting around him. He's big. He's strong. He has problem when he's got to move his feet, when he's got to get out in space. When you make him come to you and you work in those inside-outside counter moves, both those guys struggle. Matter of fact, the sack fumble that Jalen Milroe had because Pritchett, the Vandy defensive end, basically just made him whip. He leaned and boom, he's going around him and he gets a sack fumble turnover. So yeah, they have struggled, and I've been telling them all year long that this is going to be a problem, and they just haven't faced a Dylan Stewart. They haven't faced a Kennard who has that type of length and speed off the edge. So I think they have a chance to get some things done. Now, if I'm a coach for Alabama, I'm going to put Robbie Oots. I'm going to put these tight ends. They got 3 tight ends that they use to be able to chip and stay in and slow those guys down. But when you're talking about facing athletic, edge rushers per se, they are not really good at that at this moment in time. Now, I think they're going to be better. I think they got to learn how to play a little bit better, but they're talented. They're just not seasoned enough, in my opinion, right now. And that's an area of South Carolina who likes to bring pressure, can hopefully get some sacks on Milroe and cause turnovers and get this offense a short field, because they're going to need turnovers. They're going to need a short field for this offense, because right now they are really struggling, in my opinion, of moving the football consistently down the football field.
Yeah, and I think one thing you have to be worried about, too, South Carolina, the sack pressure's kind of dropped off here of late. Kennard, based on the post-game stats, he didn't even have a tackle against Ole Miss. I mean, 0 across the boards for him. No tackles, no sacks, no nothing. And Stewart, of course, had the 1 sack that they had. So let's see if they can pick that back up to where they were when they were very, very popular nationally with the pressure they were putting on the quarterbacks and the sacks they were rolling up. All right, before we let you go, time to get a read on the rivalry meter for this week after things happened last weekend.
My favorite time of the week.
Okay, well, let's let you go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
Let him go first. Yeah.
Go ahead, Will. What you got? What you reading on the rivalry meter this week?
I still think we're the better football team. I'm not going to be so boastful and say 14, so I'm going to go with 13 this week.
On a scale of 10, by the way. We should add.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, what you got, Corey?
You're such a kind. He is such a kind soul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's just because I love you guys so much.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I am sure you listen. South Carolina, I'm disappointed. I was at the game. I hosted Williams Bryce, a young kid named after the stadium, his 16th birthday. I had him on the sidelines, and what a beautiful day. And I hate that they couldn't get a win over Ole Miss to make his birthday that more sweet. That was a Make-A-Wish kid, and but I love being out on the field with him. That being said, totally mad. We were in the box. I'm mad. Matter of fact, I went back to the tailgate middle of the third quarter because I knew it was over. But I am a Gamecock. I am a forever to be. I am a Roof Sapphire, and them boys up in Pickens County Technical High School, they're not going to beat South Carolina. You sit here talking about this stuff. how good they are. They got red zone wolves. They don't even know nothing about the touchdown. They think, hey, let's go to 20-20 and let's kick a field goal, and with two of them got blocked. So here's the thing. You're going to play a real football team. SEC, where it just means so much more. Give Alabama a loss this week. Give Carolina a win over Clemson by 10, and that makes us a 15 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Hey Phil, I think we've got to put something on the line though. We've got to start a bet. We've got to start a bet. We got to put something on the line.
All right, we'll come up with something.
Okay.
We'll come up with something.
You wear my jersey if South Carolina beats you guys, and I'll wear your jersey.
Oh, that's nice. And I think your two jerseys will fit one another, based on what I've seen of your body shape. So I think each one of you could wear the other's jersey. So, I mean, it'd be a blanket for me, but I think it would work well for both. Hey, you guys have a great night.
I still got tape on my. Well, I used to have my guns out. We used to twist them and tape them up.
Yeah.
And do push-ups before we go out. Mine still got the tape on it, so I don't know if Will can get in my jersey.
Mine still has gussets where it has to get over my love fats. So I mean, we're good to go.
Hey, y'all have a great night. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week.
All right.
All right, guys. Have a
Thank you, guys. Great job. Super stuff. M&M boys at the finest tonight. Corey Miller, the pastor of Payne, and Will Merritt, one of our favorite people, and a really good football player. Let's don't undersell Will. Limited in talent, I think that's fair to say, but a hard worker, never quit on a play, never quit on his team, and became a starter in the ACC, and that says something to me. You become a starter at that level, you're pretty doggone good. Couple of quick things. The Mavericks are bringing back former Gamecock A.J. Lawson as a two-way NBA contract player. Shams Charania, now at ESPN, reporting that. He played in 42 games for the Mavs last season, and he averaged over 18 points per game for their Summer League team. And the Braves fired hitting coach Kevin Seitzer, assistant hitting coach Bobby Magdalenas, catching coach Sal Fasano. That's according to a source telling David O'Brien. Team hasn't announced the move. Each was under contract through 2025. Speaking of baseball, 2-2, Cleveland and Detroit, as they play in the bottom of the sixth inning in that one. And in golf, very quickly, update what's happening in the golf tournament. Oh, by the way, James Madison leading Coastal 7-0 as they play in the first. And Henrik Norlander and Matt McCarty, 9 under. Adam Stevenson, 8 under. Kevin Streelman, 7 under. They're playing the Black Desert Championship out in Utah. Carson Young, 5 under. Jacob Bridgman, 3 under. Andrew Novak, 2 under. Lucas Glover is 2 under. Matt Neesmith is 1 under. Wesley Bryan, a plus 172. Kevin Kisner, plus 7, still on the course. Okay. Wow. Really enjoyed it tonight. Hope you did as well. Everything will be up on our podcasts location, SoundCloud, and Spotify, and other places as well. Up on Facebook. You can go back and check it out. Check out the YouTube version of the program. That's up there for you as well. I am out tomorrow night. Chris Bergen will be in tomorrow night. Josh will be in tomorrow night. Chris will handle the high school scoreboard as well. And don't forget that Matt Smith will be at Clemson Wake Forest, covering that on our X and our website. Chris Daring will be at Tuscaloosa doing the same on that game. And, of course, Chris can talk all about the Coastal game. Coastal just scored, by the way, a 40-yard touchdown reception by Jamison Tucker. Going to tie that baby up. Have a great night, and check out the guys tomorrow. Thanks for being with us.